Namaste everyone, this is Stephen from YogaWorks, and today we're going to be releasing the psoas muscle, which is a deep muscle that lies in your inner core, and it runs from the lower part of the spine, from each of the vertebrae in the lower back, straight through your deep core, and it attaches at the front of the thigh bones. And its main function is to flex the hip, so to pull the leg up towards your chest, or if this is fixed, to fold the torso over the leg. And there's a few more details that I would like to explain to you later, but the most important thing for now is that when we're sitting for long periods of time, this muscle gets extremely weak and offline and also tight because it's always in a bit of a shortened position. So this is a good one to repeat often. I've got a block here, so if you've got a block or something similar to just elevate the hips for a few moments, that will be really helpful. You can do the same with a couple of pillows or something a little bit firm underneath you, and I'll explain a few more things once we're there. If you really don't have anything nearby, you can do pretty much the same lying down, but it's going to have more effect if you're able to elevate your hips slightly. So come to lie on your back and then just press the feet down to bridge the hips up and place the block on the medium height. I like the medium height. It's not too high, not too low. So we're in a very mild bridge pose here. And then all we're going to do is bring the right knee up and hold it with the hands and ever so slightly pull in a little bit. Now, this compresses the hip flexor here on the right, but that's not the point of the pose. The point is the left hip flexor here, as we're going to start straightening the left leg away and grounding that heel down. You could still bend that knee a little bit if you need to, but try to press the heel down a little bit and activate that leg while you pull the right knee in. So just hold this for a few moments and drop in for a moment. Maybe you've just come from work, maybe you've been traveling, whatever came before, let that rest in the past. And then a few more details about the psoas muscle. It is closely linked to our nervous system, especially the fight and flight reflex. As you can imagine, if we need to run or jump or climb, that's one of the main muscles that's going to be involved. So if we're living under constant stress and busyness, it's definitely going to affect that muscle tension in the psoas, the other hip flexors. Let's swap the legs. You can place the right foot back down. Extend the leg away from you, pull the left knee in, gently towards you, any amount is fine, and then activate that right leg, so stretch the heel away, push it down onto the mat as you pull the left knee a little bit in. Just notice the difference between the left and the right for a moment. Another thing about the psoas muscle is that it's often recruited by our brain, our nervous system, to help with posture when other muscles are not doing their job. So if you have poor sitting posture, the psoas will often be recruited to tense up and provide a little bit of stability in the lower back, which is, it can do that muscle can do that. But it's not its main job. There's other muscles that are better suited to this, and it usually leads to chronic tension and also weakness in the psoas muscle, which is something we'll hopefully be able to address a little bit in this session. And then slowly release that. It's a really nice way to just get in there. It's a nice pose to do before bedtime as well. If you just have a few minutes, and just remove the block, place it off to the side of you using one, and then stretch both legs away from you on the mat. And then again, draw the right knee in just like we've done before, pull it in, stretch the left leg away. You'll feel less stretch, obviously, because the hips are not elevated. And now keep this, but release the hands. So now we're using the strength of the hip flexor to pull that right knee in. And you might feel a very mild stretch on the left, that's okay. And then keep that, hover the left heel just above the mat. This also activates the abdominal muscles. They often work together with the psoas. And now let's swap the legs. So you're pulling the left knee in and pushing the right leg away. Do something active with your right foot so you can flex, point, or floint, sometimes it's called, where you press the toes away, like you're wearing high heels. Pull that left knee in and feel the strength of that left hip flexor, the front of that left hip. And then swap the legs. Now as you swap, can you keep pressing the lower back down and keep it into contact with the mat? So focus on the lower back as you swap the legs, don't let it lift. And then swap again. Right knee in, left knee in. Let's do one more on each side. Right knee in, left leg away. Right leg away, left knee in. And then bend both knees to the chest, squeeze in for a moment. And then place the feet down and come into easy bridge. It's a great way to strengthen the glutes, which are one of the opposing muscles to the psoas, and also get some nice length in the front of the hips and thighs. So hold that for a moment. And then start to bring the right knee in, like we've done before. Stretch the right leg up this time, and then really slowly start to lower it down, but try to keep the hips a little bit elevated. And again, slide the right heel in, bend the knee to your chest, straighten the leg, really slowly lower that leg while keeping the hip a little bit lifted so you get a nice stretch at the end. Let's do two more. Slide the heel in, knee to chest, extend the leg up, slowly lower down. The hips stay lifted though, it's the leg that lowers. Slide the heel in, knee to chest, extend the leg up, slowly lower the leg while keeping the right hip a little bit up. Set everything down, bend your knees, rest for a moment. Take a breath or two to receive the benefits of this pose. It's good not to rush. And let's bridge up for the second side. So this time left knee to chest, extend the leg up. I'm trying to keep the left hip lifted as I'm lowering the straight leg down as far as it goes. And then pull the heel in, knee to chest, lift high, lower slow. Feel the stretch in the front of the left hip. Slide the heel in, lift your leg high, and slowly lower it down. Let's do one more. Slide in, knee to chest, lift high, slowly lower down, and lower everything down. Bend your knees. Again, rest for a moment. And then slowly start to rock up and come into a lunge with your right foot forward and the left knee back. So normal length lunge, we'll do a shorter one later. Have your hands on your front knee and then tuck your back toes under. And then start to push the back toes down to lift the back knee up. And then really slowly we're going to lower that knee back down. Take your time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set down softly and then lift back up. All the way to straight. Start to bend. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soft landing. Again, lift up. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice, stay down this time. You could place the hands, or if it's more comfortable, lean down. But if your chest is lifted, you get a little bit more stretch, so I'd recommend that. And now, for now, we're just going to soften the hips forward and down. Bit of a passive stretch, but it can be good to let go of some layers of tension that you will probably be able to detect in the front of this left hip here. So focus your attention on the front of the left hip. And when I poke with my fingers, I feel there's quite a tense area there. And the work is then to progressively invite some release there as the hips are drawn down to the mat. You're letting go of any gripping, any tension in the front of that left hip. See if you can soften that part a little bit more over the next few breaths. The breath, of course, always helps because it's directly linked to your nervous system. So if there's a signal that your body is safe and in a good place, it's going to be easier to get access to more relaxation. Slowly release. And then just swap the legs. You can go to down dog. If you need a stretch, you can always lift your leg up and move however you want. And then step the left foot forward, the right knee down. Normal length lunge, or quite a long stride. Back toes are under, hands on the front knee. Squeeze inner thighs a little bit together so you get a nice solid foundation. And then tuck back toes under to lift the back knee. Try not to lift the left hip too much, so the left knee is bending a lot. So, and then here we go. We're going to bend slowly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soft touch down with the right knee, and then lift it back up. Try not to lift the left hip too much. Again, 5, 4, 3. Feel the length. 2, 1, the length of the front of the right hip, that's what we're after. Lift back up. Last one, here we go. Bend. 5, 4, slow it down. 3, 2, and 1. We're staying here for a little bit. You can have elbows down if it's too much, or you can lift the chest a little bit higher if you want a deeper stretch. But here our work is to soften the hips and to let gravity do the work, progressively relaxing the front of that right hip point more and more. And it sometimes helps to touch with your fingers just to have some tactile awareness there. We know exactly which point we are working on. Focus on the front of the right hip and relax. When you think you can't relax more, there's probably another layer and another layer after that of relaxation, of letting go, that becomes accessible if you pay attention. Sometimes it's easier to tense a muscle up than to let it go completely. And then release the hands down, downward facing dog. Feel free to lift the leg that needs a stretch or move around for a moment. And then step right foot forward, lower the left knee down. Here, I still like to keep the back toes under, but here we're getting into a shorter stance than normal. So you've got more or less right angles under your front right knee here. Again, place the hands on the front knee. And then here, actually have one hand on the lower back, one on the belly. It's gonna give you better feedback. And then lengthen the lower back down and move the belly a little bit back so you can feel with your hands. And then feel what this does to the front of the left hip. Immediately we're getting quite a stretch. Remember, the psoas are attached to the lower back, so if we lessen the curve in the lower back, it starts to pull on the insertion in the left femur, your thigh bone. Nice, keep this core activation. You can place the hands on the front knee again. So tailbone down, belly back, and now push the left knee down and pull it forward towards the front foot. Pull, 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 increase that pressure, increase the tension, ramp it up to the maximum that you can hold pain-free. 5, 4, pull the left knee forward. 3, 2, 1. Now release that tension gradually, and now activate the opposing muscles, which is the glute and the hamstring on the left, to as if you want to pull that knee back, but nothing actually moves. Lift the chest, belly back, pull your knee back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice, lift the left arm up. Straight up alongside, and then lean the left arm a little bit over to the right into a little side bend. And I'm guessing you won't have to go very far before you feel even more intense psoas stretch. One of the auxiliary functions of the psoas is also to side bend. So now we're going the opposite direction to create even more length. Don't lose the belly and the core. Don't lose that left knee pressing down. And then slowly release that. Nice. So from here, all we're going to do is facing forward and then moving forward and back. Move forward and back. And as much as possible, can you push forward with the left glute and pull back also from the left hip. So that right leg is not helping too much. It's just there for your balance, you could say. Push the left hip forward with your left glute and release. Squeeze the left glute, you could check with your hand, and release a few times. Nice. Now, second direction, we'll do this in 3 directions. The second one is if you were straight forward on the first one, we're going 45 degrees on the next one. You can turn that back foot down or whatever is comfortable back there, and then move into the stretch and out. It's a slightly different angle. We're still getting psoas, but now we more and more get into the inner thigh as well. Often gets tight as well from periods of sitting, and it's good to repeat these poses regularly. Don't overdo it, you're just going until you feel a good level of challenge, but not too much. You should be able to breathe comfortably, and to repeat this for the rest of your life in some way or another. That's one of the great advantages of yoga. And now the third direction is straight off to the side, so it's my right in my case. I went straight off to the side. A couple of times I'm bending that right knee, softening the hips down. And just see where you get to. Last one. And then place the hands downward facing dog. Well done. Step the left foot forward, the right knee down. And then like we've done before, shorten your stance. So you've got, let me turn forward so you can see from a bit of a different angle. We've got right angles under that left knee. Tuck the back toes under. And then I like to use the one hand at the belly, one in the lower back, just to organize. So we're not coming to a back bend, we're doing quite the opposite. Tailbone down, fill up the lower back, and then move the belly back towards the spine. Feel that? Already I'm feeling when I do this activation, I'm getting way more stretch in the front of the right hip suddenly. Keep that, press the right knee down. Hands could go back to front knee if you want, but keep the belly, and then pull that right knee forward. Forward, 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 forward. So we're activating the psoas, that's that action of pulling forward, and we're lengthening it at the same time. Pull forward and ramp up that pressure, to your maximum pain-free threshold. 5, 4, pull harder. 3, 2, you should be shaking. 1, gradually release that pressure and now start to slide the knee back. It's stuck on your mat, so it's not going anywhere, but you'll feel the glute and the hamstring activate at the back of the leg, the back of the hip. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release that tension in the leg. Lift the right arm, little side bend, go just as far as you need, but not further. Lean the arm over the head. Press that right knee down and keep the belly moving a little bit back to the spine. And then release that. And you could place the left foot a little bit further. Remember 3 directions for our little movements, forward and back. So start with the straight forward one and move back. It's easy to pull with your front leg, but I want you to push with your back glute so that hip goes forward, and then you're pulling it back with your hamstring. Push forward and pull back. It's a different activation, same result, but more work into that psoas on the right that we're stretching. So the more that right glute activates, the more we're getting space here in the front of the right hip. You'll feel that. Last one. And then go 45 degrees, so at a bit of an angle diagonally with that left leg. I like one hand on the hip, one on the knee, and then I'm sinking in. And then here I'd actually like to untuck the back foot. It just feels a little bit better. Do a couple of these movements. Feel the space, still getting psoas, but more and more we're getting into inner thighs as well, on both legs actually. Couple of gentle, soothing movements up and down. Take your time with this. And then let's place the leg all the way off to the side, so 90 degrees from the direction you started. And then same thing, moving in and moving out without forcing, pushing too hard. Just observing where your body is happy to go. Last one. Nice, and then place your hands back at the front of the mat. Let's set up for pigeon pose with the right knee forward. Usually we do pigeon pose a lot for the outer hip of that front leg, but today I want to use pigeon pose for the hip flexor of the back leg. So set it up. You can narrow that angle in the front leg because we're not really after a big outer hip stretch here. Stretch that left leg back. So if you look back, it should be in line with your left hip, and then lift the chest up. Already, a lot of you may feel the length in the front of that left hip and thigh, especially if you lift the chest nice and high, and then you pull the belly a little bit back. Press the top of that back leg down. So this is option 1. Option 2, if you want to add a little bit more, you can reach your left hand back and grab the left foot if it is available. The right hand can still help for your balance. Push the left knee down. I like to push that left foot into the hand while turning the chest forward as best as possible. So we're getting not only hip flexor, but also the quads now, because that knee is bent. Hold for another moment. At the end, you can also try to pull that knee, that heel in a little bit closer, which is more quads, less hip flexor. But they work together, they're on the same side of the hip. And then release that. Step back to down dog just for a moment to switch the legs, and then place the left knee forward behind your left wrist. Stretch the right leg back. Come onto the top of that right foot. Press the fingertips down, lift the heart. And stay here for a moment. Press the top of that back leg into the mat. Lift the chest nice and high. And then stay a little bit strong in the belly to get a deeper stretch. You're welcome to stay here. This is plenty. Often this is the final stop in the pose when I do this. Sometimes if I want a little bit more, then I grab the back foot and kick it into the hand, trying to face forward as best as possible with the chest. So we don't want to turn the right shoulder open. I would lessen the stretch in this case. Kick the right foot back, press the right knee down, and feel the length in the front of the right hip, front of the right thigh. And then if you want, you could press the heel a little bit closer, get more into the quads, if there's any space for you to do that. And then slowly release. One last pose. I'm going to face forward. We're going to come into a 90-90 position, which is the thigh of the right leg parallel to long edge of the mat, the shin parallel to short edge of the mat. Same thing with the back foot. And then just here, lean back on the right elbow. Lean back. So your torso is in line with that left thigh as best as you can. And then now this doesn't do a lot, except if you squeeze that left buttock, you squeeze the left glute to push that left hip forward and create some nice length here. And then it starts to get really interesting, but kind of relaxing at the same time. So squeeze the glute a bit just to get a good stretch, front of left hip, but don't go too far. Another moment or so, and then lift back up. Swap the legs, you could just swivel them over to the second side. It should be more or less right for the 90-90. I'm coming to left elbow, the torso in line with the right thigh, and then squeezing the right glute. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as best as you can until you feel just enough. Not a crazy stretch and not nothing, of course, then you're just wasting your time, but just the right amount of challenge. Feel this for a moment, lots of length. We've done a ton of poses that work into this area. Slowly lift back up, well done. And then swing the legs forward, but keep the feet on the mat and lie down on your back. Just to end this brief session, I'm going to do a short Shavasana, but in a slightly different form. Actually, this pose is called constructive rest pose. And it's actually the only setup in which the psoas can fully relax because of the angle of the legs to the torso. So recreate this here. You're pressing the feet, well, not really pressing them, but just grounding them down. The feet don't have to be really close like bridge, they can be a bit further away, it's going to be better. And then feel the softness in the front of the hip points. You can even rest your hands there to spread that warmth and relaxation deeper and deeper. And then relax the lower back fully down onto the mat or towards the mat. Relax the shoulders, and then can you do less and less effort to keep the legs up. If it feels like the legs are gonna move out and not comfortable, you can always knock the knees in together and turn the heels out a bit. This is another option. Or you can keep the legs parallel. And then just feel the deep relaxation in the front of the hips. You might even feel a tingling around your whole midsection, the lower back, deep inside the pelvis, the front and the back of the hips. drop in for a moment. Let the spine relax, let the head rest back. Feel the layers and layers of tension just drop away one after the other. If you have a little bit more time, this is a great pose to hold for 5, 10, 15 minutes. It would be an amazing luxury. Or if you need to go, then start to roll over onto your sides. Push up to a seated position. Place your hands in front of the chest. Touch your hands to your forehead, to your heart. Bow to yourself on the mat. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing. I hope it feels amazing. See you again soon.